Tonight,
everybody's talking about how terrible I am on these issues.
A Democratic dogpile with last night's debaters ganging up on the party's frontrunner.
We can no longer allow a white nationalist to be in the White House.
But the president is proving a unifying force.
Plus, they think we need to do everything we can to protect our election security.
We talked to the top Democrat on the Senate Intel Committee, who says Russia is about to up its game in 2020.
The Chinese military is standing at the border as tensions in Hong Kong reach a boiling point.
We just pray God to guide us through.
And the next wave of asylum seekers heading north to face a rigorous journey.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Well, after another round of debates, just how strong is Joe Biden's lead? Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm Ben Kennedy in for John Jessup. Democrats at it again last night in the second set of debates in Detroit. At center stage, Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris exchanged barbs, and they were not the only ones.
Yeah, others made sure to jump in there, too, ripping apart policy and past records. Night 2 of the Detroit Democratic debate delivered on substance, and as expected, there were quite a few brawls. Former Vice President Joe Biden with this memorable line before the debate even started.
Easy on me, kid.
But no one went easy on him. Senator Kamala Harris threw some of the first familiar punches, challenging him on issues like race and busing in his long career.
The Vice President has still failed to acknowledge that it was wrong to take the position that he took at that time.
Biden shot right back, pointing out how he was vetted by former President Obama.
Barack Obama knew exactly who I was. He had 10 lawyers do a background check on everything about me on civil rights and civil liberties, and he chose me, and he said it was the best decision.
And Biden came out strong against Harris for going back and forth on her health care plan.
You can't beat President Trump with double talk.
Other candidates got a piece of the action, too. Senator Cory Booker went after Biden on criminal justice reform.
Since the 1970s, every major crime bill, major and minor, has had his name on it.
You had a police department you went out and you hired Rudy Giuliani's guy. You engaged in stop and frisk.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor.
Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard took a shot at Harris, a former prosecutor, on the same topic.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people.
Candidates also clashed over immigration, with Biden defending the policies of the Obama administration and saying people who came here illegally should be sent back. Congressman Julian Castro.
It looks like one of us has learned the lessons of the past and one of us hasn't. What we need are politicians that actually have some guts on this issue.
I have guts enough to say his plan doesn't make sense.
And no surprise, President Trump took some knocks, too.
We can no longer allow a white nationalist to be in the White House.
First thing that I'm going to do when I'm president is I'm going to Clorox the Oval Office.
The next debate is in September in Houston, but likely only about half of these candidates will make the cut.
The Democratic candidates.
And as we mentioned, that next debate is in September, and only about half of the candidates will make the cut. Ben?
Well, today on the campaign trail, Joe Biden is punching back when it comes to his former boss, Barack Obama, and his record on immigration.
I'm proud of having served with him. I'm proud of the job he did. I don't think there's anything he has to apologize for, and I think, it kind of surprised me, the degree of the criticism. The world has changed since Obama, and here's the deal. This is about the future. It's about taking the same kind of integrity and moving beyond it. And CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody, joins us now to break it all down. David, in some ways last night, it seemed like a lot of these candidates were going after President Obama more than they were President Trump.
Yeah, and that shows you how much the landscape has changed in the Democratic Party. You know, Barack Obama was the liberal 4 to 8 years ago, whatever it is, and now all of a sudden he's what, somewhat centrist? I mean, that is what has happened. And so in essence, they're going to pretty much have to go after him. They don't want to go after him, but what other choice do they have, because the party has moved so far left? And, you know, Obamacare was so radical at the time, and now Obamacare all of a sudden is somewhat of the centrist position in the Democratic Party, and you've got Medicare for All, which is going to cost about $27 trillion or so.
And David, real quick, after back-to-back debates, who's gained the most? Is Biden still in the top?
Well, the polls will show Biden is in the top, but the energy was with Elizabeth Warren. I mean, she did really, really well. Now, if you think about Warren and Biden on the same stage, think about that for a moment. If there were only 4 or 5 candidates, if we're talking top tier, I mean, Elizabeth Warren has been very impressive, kind of school teacher-ish, if you will, a much more improved version of Hillary Clinton if she was a general election candidate. I mean, she has passion, she has focus, she believes in everything that she's saying out there. Her challenge, obviously, is going to be, how do you convince Americans that socialism can work? She'll never call it socialism, but in essence, that's what it is. So, but she's done very well. Joe Biden, you know, how do I grade it? It was a C as a grade, or more like an eh, as we would say in New York. Well, we say a few other things in New York, but you know what I'm saying.
David, were there any surprise standouts?
I thought Tulsi Gabbard did very well. I mean, we were talking about this in the newsroom. I thought she did great.
The white pantsuit.
The white pantsuit worked.
She popped on camera.
Yeah, according to pundits. But also what popped was that line that she delivered, as you put in your piece, that line to Kamala Harris. I mean, she just kind of destroyed and dismantled her prosecutorial record, which is one of Kamala Harris's assets. So I thought she did well. I thought Cory Booker also did well, especially because it was a Kool-Aid line that broke through in the news cycle. Anytime you can break through, that's a good night.
How do you think Kamala Harris handled the attacks? Because she was pretty aggressive in that first debate.
Yeah, she was smiling and having some fun in the first debate. The second debate, she looked a bit harried at the end. I mean, she was getting attacks from Tulsi Gabbard. She didn't do very well at all on the rebuttal. Her rebuttal was like, I defend my record, I'm proud of my record. Look, you got to come better than that. So that's one thing. And then on Biden, she didn't really kind of deliver any sort of kill on health care. As a matter of fact, she looked weaker, kind of not quite sure where she was going with her plan, because she's had to revamp her plan a little bit.
And David, it's kind of hard to believe the next debate is not for another 6 weeks. We have 20 candidates. Yeah. Who do we not expect to see come September?
Well, we only expect 10 of them at this point in September, and that means only one night of debates. Thank goodness for that. I think we all can agree on that.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, obviously the big guns are going to be there: Buttigieg and Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders. I can go through the list. We know all the big ones there. And then I think on the fence now, Amy Klobuchar should get in. Tulsi Gabbard, I believe, is going to get in, but who we won't see, probably a Jay Inslee probably won't be there. Beto O'Rourke will be there, but the Steve Bullocks and John Delaney, I don't think any of them will make it.
What about Gillibrand?
On the fence, but on the lower end of the fence. I mean, if it's going to be it's probably going to be either Gillibrand or Tulsi Gabbard. And I think after that performance, even though Gillibrand had her moments, Tulsi Gabbard did well.
All right, David, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, tonight the markets are reacting to the president's announcement of additional tariffs on China. The president declared in a tweet that, quote, the U.S. will start on September 1st, putting a small additional tariff of 10% on the remaining $300 billion of goods and products coming from China into our country. Now, this does not include the $250 billion already tariffed at 25%. And today, stocks, bonds, yields, and oil prices dropped a bit after the president's tweet.
Well, tonight, the bipartisan budget deal is heading to the president's desk. The Senate today approved a 2-year budget deal. It increases spending and suspends the debt ceiling until 2021. And not everyone is happy about it. Republican Senators Mike Braun of Indiana and James Lankford of Oklahoma told CBN News why they withheld their support.
Understand the president and trying to get through the chaos that would be associated with debt ceiling issues, shutting the government down. All I can tell you is that I'm going to still preach the cause. I am voting against it.
I can't support it, not because of some of the budget numbers, but because of the debt ceiling portion of it. And that's been my great frustration.
Oh, well, election security is top of mind for many of these lawmakers ahead of 2020. There are, of course, major concerns about the threat.
CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson spoke with the vice chair of the Senate Intel Committee about why he believes elections are still vulnerable, and joins us now. Abigail?
That's right. Well, Warner's biggest concern is that we haven't learned from 2016 when Russia effectively interfered in our election, and he worries about the integrity of our system going into 2020.
The Russians don't favor one party over another. They want to sow chaos, and I think they'll use some new tools in 2020.
We've already seen some of the tech most concerning to Warner. It's known as deep fake technology.
You can computer generate a voice, or you can put the image of your face on another body.
Warner believes each campaign should be extra cautious going into 2020.
I have my personal phone, iPad, screened on a regular basis.
And he says while we've taken some steps to address the problem, it's not enough.
I think we know that Russia didn't really throw all their resources at 2018. They're going to reserve that for the presidential election.
Warner's working to legislatively tackle the issue 3 ways. First,
there ought to be an obligation that if a foreign government tries to intervene in a presidential election, whoever they try to intervene on behalf of, there ought to be an obligation not to say thank you, but tell the FBI.
Second, Warner believes each voting machine should have a paper ballot backup in case interference is detected.
They do it on both ends of the political spectrum, advocate for the most extreme positions on the left and the right.
And third, he's calling for basic rules forcing Facebook, Twitter, and Google to crack down on fake bots.
Unless we can put some of this in the law to make sure on a going forward basis that we'll take these minimum protections, I'm not sure I can look Americans straight in the eye and say that we'll be fully secure in 2020.
Warner believes this should not be a partisan issue.
I'm not here to try to relitigate 2016.
But he has concerns about the White House's support.
I do worry that, at times the White House has been very reluctant to kind of acknowledge this is a problem. I do get concerned when President Trump interacts with President Putin of Russia and seems to kind of laugh off this issue.
Warner's bills to address election security are picking up bipartisan co-sponsors and support, and he believes that they will be broadly supported if they make it to the Senate floor. Back to you, Ben and Jenna.
Thanks, Abby. Well, a major crisis in Hong Kong coming up while China is moving troops to the border.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religion he has, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Tonight, the son of Osama bin Laden is thought to be dead. According to multiple reports, the U.S. was involved in the death of Osama bin Laden. Documents taken from the Pakistan house where Osama bin Laden was killed led officials to suspect Hamza was being groomed to take over al-Qaeda. The son of the mastermind behind the 9/11 terrorist attacks had promised revenge against the U.S. after his father's death. The U.S. State Department had offered a $1 million reward for his capture. Well, tensions are reaching a boiling point tonight in Hong Kong, where dozens of protesters have been charged with rioting.
It comes as protesters demand greater democracy and government accountability, and the U.S. is being blamed for the struggle. CBN News national security correspondent Eric Phillips has more on the unrest.
There has been an obvious escalation where the protests are concerned, police clashing with protesters, and now the Chinese military said to be standing by at the border. The latest trouble came outside of a local police station after protesters learned dozens of detainees would face charges of rioting. Hours later, mobs blocked streets surrounding the courthouse where some of the protesters would be released. The unrest started weeks ago in response to an extradition bill that would send people of Hong Kong to mainland China to stand trial. Outcry led to the suspension of that bill, but the protest then expanded to demands for greater democracy.
They're using unreasonable force, using a kind of like tear gas, rubber bullet, and all sorts of very high level of violence equipment to hit against the young people. Using these draconian rules will not heal Hong Kong, although they may have the backup from Beijing. But clearly, this kind of condition will only elevate the violence. Young people will only become more united.
Hong Kong police say they issued warnings before using tear gas as protesters responded by throwing eggs and bricks at officers. The Chinese government showing strong support for Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam by moving the military to the border for security. Chinese officials also blamed Western nations, especially the U.S., for instigating this, a claim Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called ludicrous.
From recent videos continuously released by the press, we can see many Americans and even the U.S. national flag in the violent protests in Hong Kong. If the White House really cares about a peaceful, stable, and prosperous Hong Kong, it should admonish the violent and radical protesters to express their demands through peaceful means instead of violence.
Secretary Pompeo says the protests are solely the responsibility of the people of Hong Kong and that they're the ones demanding that their voices be heard and that their government listen to them. Pompeo is urging the Chinese government to do the right thing. In Washington, Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Thank you, Eric. When we come back, why a new wave of asylum seekers is heading north.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Well, the number of migrants seeking asylum at our southern border has dropped off over the summer months.
However, reports out of South America point to large numbers of people from around the world making their way north. Chuck Holton went to Colombia to report on this new wave headed to America's border.
There's a large mass of asylum seekers en route to the U.S. who come from countries much further away than Central America. And before they get to the United States, they have to first make the treacherous trek through the Darien jungle. I drove from Medellin to the city of Turbo on Colombia's western frontier to get a sense of where these migrants are coming from.
It's a long drive, about 9 hours. Not that far distance-wise, but this road is so winding, just up and down these very extreme mountains. That's just how it is.
It was dark by the time I arrived, but early the next morning I found what I was looking for: masses of African migrants at the public boat dock. Peter Ba left Cameroon in mid-June.
Passed through Istanbul, that's in Turkey. Then we stopped at Panama. Then now we came to Ecuador. So we are trying to walk now back to Panama. From Panama, that's how we go to Inter-America, which that would be more safe for us.
There's so many migrants that have showed up today that they're having to get more boats to put them in. This is the public dock in Turbo, and this boat behind me is full of migrants that are headed to a place called Capurganá. It's the last spot inside Colombia, and from there they will start their walk. Most of them have no idea what they're about to face.
I don't know. I heard it's a tough one, but I don't know. We just pray God to guide us through.
Some of those making this trek through the jungle likely will not survive. But if they do, their journey is far from over. Camps in Panama now hold as many as 10,000 migrants, and the number of those being allowed to continue north to Costa Rica are only a few hundred per week. And the harbor master here in Turbo says the numbers continue to surge.
As of yesterday, we've transported over 6,000 people of different nationalities: Congo, Cuba, Haiti, Pakistan, Syria, Eritrea, Bangladesh. It's increased a lot, especially migrants from Africa. Many of them think that when they get here to Turbo, that the worst is over, but in reality, their suffering is just beginning.
And Fabricio thinks the biggest travesty is the number of children forced to make this dangerous journey.
We've seen nearly 600 of them this year alone making the crossing with their parents, many of them not even walking yet. It's really hard to watch.
Here on the Panama side of the Darien Gap, the Panamanian Border Police have picked up about 40 children in the last 12 months who've come walking out of this jungle all by themselves. Now, they didn't go in that way, but their parents died on the journey. And that leaves the government of Panama in a real quandary, because in some cases, they don't even know what this kid's name is. He's too young to tell them, or even what country he comes from. And so I went and talked to the Panamanian version of Child and Family Services to find out how they're dealing with this crisis.
They arrive here in very bad health, exhausted, dehydrated, and covered with bug bites from the jungle. It's really painful for our team. We are deeply disturbed seeing children affected in this way.
Osledi Rodriguez is a Border Service liaison who works to reunite families who get separated on the trail. She says the children are being put in too much danger.
We've heard stories of an animal that attacked a baby and killed it out there. But when we recover lost children, we look at the border stations and, for example, recently reunited a 2-year-old with her mother after 7 days being lost.
I'm at the bus station in Medellin, Colombia, and this is one of the main stopovers for many of the migrants who are coming from overseas. One of the questions I think people have is, how are they getting here and how are they paying for it? Well, almost all of the migrants coming from Africa, Asia, and other places around the world have to go to Ecuador first because it's the only country in the Western Hemisphere, basically, that will allow them in without a visa. Then they start taking buses. It takes about a week, and they ride buses from Ecuador up through Colombia, change buses here in Medellin, and take another one up to Turbo, which is the jumping off point for the Darien Gap. As to how they're paying for it, well, many of them that I'm talking to are telling me they get the money from their friends and family in the United States. So all other things being equal, I think it's fair to say that these migrants might be desperate to get into the U.S., but they're certainly not destitute.
Omar Cáceres is one of dozens of Cuban migrants preparing to cross the Darien Gap this morning.
Dave warned me the trip is really tough, complicated, and dangerous. I'm not sure how I will make it, but I trust my family to support me and God to protect me.
From Western Colombia, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Still ahead, a new and adorable addition to the Faith Nation family.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern Gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
A Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Well, welcome back. This just in, CBN News Chief Political Analyst David Brody, right here, is a grandpa.
That's right. Pop and Mimi, as David and his wife are affectionately known, are the proud grandparents of a healthy baby girl coming in at 7.2 pounds and 20 inches. Brooke Nicole Brody was born Tuesday morning at 8:43 a.m. David, from all of us here, huge congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're trying to get her to watch the show. She hasn't gotten back to us quite yet on that.
The real question, does she like politics?
Well,
did she watch the debate?
She did. She fell asleep. We got her this, but it might be a little too big.
She'll grow into it.
Yeah, she'll grow into it. I definitely have grown into it. So, but yeah, we're very excited.
Oh, the first grandchild.
First grandchild, and hopefully not the last.
Yeah. Congratulations.
All right. Thanks so much.
Have a great night.